Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are having a great day so far. So you may not know this, but I have not filmed for 3 weeks now. I know, crazy. I feel a bit confused as to what I'm even doing. I don't even know what's happening. It's been that long since I sat down and filmed a video. Now, obviously videos have been going up, but they were pre-filmed. First of all, we had our Easter holidays. My daughter's birthday is in the Easter holidays, and we were also released into the first stage of lockdown lifting here in the UK. So I was off straight to see my family, of course, and spending lots of quality time with all the people that we have missed. And then my camera had to go in for a service. So last week kids were back at school, but my camera was not here. And do you know what? I mean, as little as I know about technology, I do know it's pretty crucial to have a camera when making videos. That I do know. So now my camera is back, my children are back in school, and we're back. But do you know what happened in those few weeks? A lot of makeup came out. A lot of makeup arrived on my doorstep, who knows from where. And I have failed in updating you on my thoughts, in showing any of it to you, because I have been either with children or without camera. And so I thought today, first video back, would be a good idea to catch you guys up, to share my thoughts, to share the makeup with you that I haven't had a chance to over the last few weeks. So we've got the Natasha Denona Circo Loco palette that I haven't had a chance to use on my channel yet, which is a disgrace because it's been out for so long. I'm going to be revisiting a new shade of the Patrick Tar contour and bronzer that I picked up. I've got the new Laura Mercier concealer. What even is it? I don't know. What is this? I'm so confused. I haven't been here for so long. I've got a couple of products from the new NARS collection, including a cheek palette and one of their new matte lip balms, tinted lip balms. Very exciting. I've got the Hermes Blushes that I have not even shown you on here yet, and I've got the Fenty Eazedrop. So I'm going to be putting all of these products on my face and sharing all my thoughts and letting you know what my experience with them has been, and just generally catching up, because where on earth have I been? Let's get started. So I'm starting off with eyes. This palette, I mean, to look at it, you would just not think that this was for me, this palette. It's just so much colour, and you guys know that I am like a basic eyeshadow, and I very rarely go outside of my comfort zone. So that's why I wanted to pick this one up. I wanted to push myself to try something new, and I have just been loving it. There's just so many fun looks that you can get out of this palette. I really thought that these two oranges would be the last shades in here that I would touch. I just thought they're just like the least me in here. Like, I do like greens, I love purple, so although these are brighter than my usual preference, they are like my colours that I like. Whereas the oranges, I was like, no, but let me tell you, they're actually some of my favourite colours in the palette. So those are what I'm going to use today. So starting off, this is my Refa 16 brush, and I'm going to be going into Firework, which is the matte orange shade, and I'm just going to be whacking this all in the crease, and probably you're going to instantly see that this is nowhere near as bright or as garish or as like intimidating neon orange as it looks in the palette. It's actually a lot more wearable for me than I thought it would be. By the way, I saw this tweet. I cannot for the life of me remember who it was who tweeted it or how I saw it, but you know how on Twitter you just sometimes see stuff because someone you follow has liked it. I feel like those lights are a bit bright, so hopefully that's a bit better. Hopefully you can see a bit better now. But I saw someone had tweeted saying that they hate it when creators or beauty bloggers or beauty gurus, whatever you want to call them, say things like I just said, which is something is more or less wearable, or whether when we say something is more daytime or more nighttime, because it implies that there's like a right or wrong way to wear or use makeup, or right or wrong time of day to wear certain looks or to use more colour. And the person whose tweet it was had said, you know, typically it's almost always referred that neutrals or natural shades or natural colours are what is referred to as being wearable and daytime, and then, you know, colour is not wearable and you know, smoky or more full glam is evening, and actually that just doesn't apply to everybody. I 100% and totally understand the point, and I'm 100% fully guilty of doing that. I know I say it all the time. I say things that are or are not wearable, and I say things are more daytime or more evening. But I just want to let you know that when I say those things, I am solely only referring to myself. It's only for me, for my preferences, for my lifestyle, for how I prefer to do my makeup and how I like my makeup to look and the colours I prefer. So I'm not in any way, when I say something is or isn't wearable or is daytime versus nighttime, I solely am only referring to my own preferences, not anybody else's or what anyone else's should be. Because as always, I just think everybody should fully do whatever the heck they want when it comes to makeup. It's no one else's business or choice. So now I'm using my MAC 242 and I'm going to go into the orange shimmer. That is the shade Spiral. And I'm just going to wash this all over the lid. It is interesting because whenever I use this palette, I get at least one person, one or two people I would say, who feels the need to tell me how much they hate it. Like the eyeshadow that I'm wearing, or the palette, or the look I've done, or how much they would rather I did more natural or neutral colours, or how much better I look when I use more understated colours. And I'm just honestly, I mean, I cannot understand why people feel the need to tell you that they don't like your makeup, but believe me, it happens to me too. It happens to me a lot. So just know, I do not care. I promise you, if I've uploaded a photo or if I've done my makeup, I'm happy with it, and really nothing else should matter to anybody, least of all me. I completely understand if this palette is not for you, because I really wouldn't have thought it was going to be for me, honestly. But I'm really enjoying it. It's really just been so fun to play with different colours I never would have used or picked up before. And by the way, this like look that I've just done now, very simple, 2 shades out of the palette. It looks absolutely stunning on deeper skin tones, tan skin, deeper skin. Are just so gorgeous. I've seen some stunning looks on deeper skin tones. So I don't have a new mascara to show you, so I've just whacked on a coat of my Pillow Talk mascara from Charlotte Tilbury, and now we are ready to give this Fenty Eazedrop a go. So when I first purchased this, it was just a good few weeks ago now, I picked up a different shade. I think I picked up the shade 9. The shade I'm going to be using today is 11. I have picked up a little bit of Sun already, but that shade 9 was just like much too light even for my kind of more winter skin when it arrived. It was just too light, and I just knew I wasn't going to be able to use it at all, like going into spring and summer. So I returned it, because Boots at the moment, if you don't know, are allowing you to return foundation if you purchase from Boots. You can return foundations if you purchase your wrong shade, because obviously they're aware you can't swatch, you can't check your shade, you can't get shade matched in their stores most of the time at the moment. So they basically are allowing you to return if you purchase the wrong shade. So I did that, I took advantage of that. Because I had picked up the wrong shade, and I sent it back and got the shade 11. Obviously you should try not to, because it's all waste and everything, but obviously that was a genuine mistake on my part. So I've now had this foundation for a good number of weeks now, and I've tried it numerous times and numerous different days, types of weather, all that kind of stuff. So I feel like now I'm very equipped to give you like a full rundown of what I'm making of it and how it's kind of performing on me, different days, different weathers, different circumstances, because this is definitely not a first impressions at this point. This is a tried and tested review of this foundation, because I've had it, or skin tint I should say, because I have had it a good while now, so I definitely feel like I've got my opinions together. So I've built that up quite a lot, used a fair amount of foundation to get to this sort of light medium amount of coverage that we've got now. It isn't the easiest quick like 10-second application, like some skin tints, you know, or tinted moisturizer, they're very just easy, melt into the skin, quick one and you're done. I don't feel that way about this. I feel like it needs to be worked into the skin. It takes a bit of effort. I'm sure you can see it gives a super smooth, I do agree that it's like a sort of airbrushed blurring effect on the skin. It definitely smooths out my skin texture and gives me that light medium coverage. It is a bit of work to get it even, and I do not recommend using a brush with this. I really had disastrous results using a brush. Like, it wouldn't stick to my nose. It just was brush stroke hell, and yeah, it was tricky. So I definitely would advise using a damp beauty blender or a damp beauty sponge to apply this for the best results. I'll show you more so at the end when it's had time to kind of sit on my skin for a while, but I have previously found that it soaks into like every single line and just creases in every single line that I possess, which is, you know, more than when I was 20, put it that way. I also don't find it to be transfer proof. I wore it on a day where I wore a mask for like 10 minutes. I think I can't remember exactly the situation, but oh, I know. I think it was when I took my daughter to her swimming lessons. So I had a mask on for like 10 minutes and the whole inside of the mask was just caked in foundation. To its credit, it hadn't, like, there was no visible rubbing off. Like, the foundation didn't appear to have disappeared, but it had really transferred more than like I remember any other foundation having transferred onto my mask like that. So that's just something else to note, but I'll give you a close-up towards the end of the video when it's sat there for a while and we can more deeply discuss my thoughts. So now on to this double-ended concealer from Laura Mercier. Now this was gifted to me and they unfortunately sent me shade 1N. I'm not going to complain because obviously, you know, it's a gift and I would certainly take whatever I'm given because it does allow me to try it out, but it's much, much too light for me. I would have needed either 2 or even 3, but it's definitely okay that I can, you know, use it and get my thoughts on it. So this is like a double-ended, what would you call this, crayon, I guess. One end is like a colour corrector, which is what I've just put on there, and the other end is a brightening, like illuminating shade. So I don't generally use much of a colour corrector, so that was kind of new for me, and I would just use it like under my eyes here where I get those sort of dark circles or that little bit of darkness and discoloration under my eyes, and you can see straight away that's done a decent job of doing that. And then you go in with the brightening shade on the other end, and that's like your kind of classic concealer. The issue I have with this, like the shade, is it's just much too light, but you can see enough to see how it performs. So just bear in mind that my makeup will look a little odd towards the end of this because of the stark concealer contrast. But there's definitely pros and cons. I find this crayon, like, I guess this will be a love-hate situation, like whether you love or hate this applicator. I really like it. I just find it really easy to just get it where I want it. It's very easy, like in specific areas, like down the bridge of the nose, and to carve out like eyes and things like that. It takes a bit more work to press it into the skin than a liquid concealer, because obviously it's like a solid. So you kind of have to buff it a bit more than you would just press it into the skin. And it just takes, I mean, it doesn't take a lot of effort, but it's definitely more of a buffing situation than just a pushing into the skin like my liquid concealers would be. So I mean, it would definitely be one that would work nicely with a brush. Obviously I just prefer using a sponge. On super natural makeup days where maybe you've just gone with like a little bit of a tint of moisturiser, some mascara and brows, I would absolutely use this concealer. It's very natural. It's got a lovely like pearl finish, so it's not matte. So I think it's quite kind on like dry skin, and it feels super light. Like I can't feel it there at all, but it is illuminating. You can see how much it is illuminating. So for me, I mean, I will set it now. I'm going to use my I was going to say Patrick Tar in a minute. My Pat McGrath setting powder, and that will take some of that shine or that luminosity away, because I'm not really a fan of that really luminous under eye look, but this powder will slightly tone that down a little. But yeah, I'm generally not a huge fan of an illuminating under eye, but with the powder, that's not so much of a problem. One thing that I don't love about it is that it does not cover my darkness as well as like my Pat McGrath. So it's not full coverage, I wouldn't say. It's more of like a medium coverage. So on a natural makeup day where you're not trying to, you know, fully cover your dark circles, you're not trying to get a full coverage look going on, a full makeup look going on, I would absolutely wear this. It gives you a more natural look because you've still got light and shade and skin showing through, and flaws showing through. It does crease a little on me, but nothing dramatic. But yeah, you can definitely still see quite a lot of discoloration there that usually isn't there when I use my Pat McGrath concealer. So it's definitely not like my ultimate favourite, but I do really like it for like a more natural no makeup day or just a lighter makeup day. I'm just going to go quickly back into my Circo Loco palette and do a bit of a under eye blend. This is my 26 from Refa that I'm using, like literally my favourite brush of all time. Just absolutely love this brush for under the eye, and I'm using that first matte shade just to finish this off. Okay, so I'm going to be revisiting the Patrick Ta contour and bronzer duo. If you remember in my review, I used the medium shade and it was just stone cold grey on me. The bronzer was nice, didn't mind the bronzer, but the contour was just like crematorium grey is how it made me feel. So anyway, having watched, I think it was Morgan Turner's review. Now Morgan used the lightest shade and found the same thing, that it left her very, very, very grey, ashy grey. And when she used the medium palette, which she thought would be too deep for her, it was much better. And that just gave me the light bulb moment. Do you know what? Maybe I should try the deeper palette and it will have the same effect on me, that by going one shade up, it won't be as great, and it definitely is much better. So I'm using the same brush I used in my initial review. I've definitely played about with this, so I know how I like to apply it and I know how it works best for me. So that's just how I'm going to stipple that on, and then I'm going to press it in with my beauty blender. And I'm sure if you watched that review, you will see already it's just a much better shade for me. It's just nowhere near as grey on my skin tone, and it's much better. I never had an issue with the formula in my review. I liked the formula of it and everything, and I liked the bronzer, but the shade of the contour, it was just much too grey. So yeah, that has definitely resolved that issue for me. So that would be my recommendation, is if you are around my skin tone, is to go up to the deeper shade. Or I mean, for any skin tone, it seems like you probably need to go one palette up from where you think you might be. Otherwise, it's probably going to be too grey on your skin tone. Having said that, I mean, I did have people telling me that they just love that super grey. If you're one of those people who likes a really grey contour, then you might not mind, but this is just so much better for me. So I will use the bronzer on one side of my face out of this palette just to show you, but I have another bronzer I want to use, so I'm just going to use this on this side so I can show you, in case you're just wondering whether the bronzer will be too deep. I just use it really nice and light. Doesn't need a lot of building up. But yeah, I think I probably prefer the bronzer in the other palette, which is where you know, you have a problem. You kind of, to make these products with more than one product in the palette work or be cost effective or be worth it, really, you need to like and use or love and want to use both. So it's kind of tricky. It is annoying. I know lots of people would love to just have the products to buy as individuals. I know lots of you guys were saying to me that you just don't contour and you don't therefore want, you know, a contour both in this palette and in the Wayne Goss. And that's, you know, the issue with those products is if you don't ever contour, you're, you know, it's just not going to work or be cost effective for you because you're not using half of the product that you're paying for. So on the other side of my face, I'm going to use the bronzer out of this palette from NARS. This is the Full Dimension Cheek Palette, and this is the lighter shade. There is a deeper shade than this. So yeah, I'm going to use the bronzer. I'm not that familiar with this palette. I kind of gave it a bit of a whirl with the blush and the highlight, but it's one of the products in here today that I'm less familiar with than some of them. Some of them I've been using for a good while, but you know how many bronzers I've had on the go. Oh my goodness, these bronzers have been coming out my ears. Like I said, be careful what you wish for, because I've been wishing for like a new exciting bronzer, and then 48 came out in the last month, and now I just don't even know what to do with myself. So yeah, it's taken me a bit of a while to kind of get around to properly trying out this palette. This bronzer is lovely. It's very natural. It is a matte bronzer, so if that's your preference or not, but it takes a lot of building up on me. This palette was, again, this is gifted to me by NARS. If you're ever unsure, I will always have in the description box. I try to remember to tell you if something's gifted or not, but I sometimes just forget to mention it. So it will always be marked clearly in my description box whether something was gifted or not. So here you can see this is the contour from Patrick Tar's Duo along with that NARS bronzer. And then on this side, it's just the Patrick Tar together. I think I kind of prefer this side. I feel like it's a little bit more natural. I think this bronzer, the undertone from here is a little, it's just different to what I usually use undertone wise. It may just be that it's a bit light for me, but the highlight in here is super pretty. It's almost like a, well, it is a kind of really light, kind of champagne-y, pinky shade. You see when you put it on, it's like that my worst nightmare of a highlight to begin with, because it is that really like metallic, bold, like streak. But these highlights from NARS just blend and blend and blend, and you can just make them as soft or as bling as you like for your preference. Just if you like me prefer a more understated highlight, just use a little and just keep on blending, and you will see once the blush is on here, this is going to be much more natural than when I first applied it. But obviously you have the option there to go all out as well, if that's more your flavour. So I'm going to just mix the blushes together. They are kind of quite similar. There's a matte and a shimmer in there. So this shade is matte and this is a shimmer, but they are essentially the same kind of colour. They're just, one is a matte and one is a shimmer. So I love that you kind of have those options. If you want a bit of a matte blush, you've got an option, and if you prefer a shimmer, you just feel like a bit of a bling, a bit of glow that day, you've got that as well. As you can see, super natural on me. These blushes really easy. I mean, I just feel like NARS does cheek palettes just so well. You can never really go wrong. I just feel like that's their best product for NARS, their cheek products, especially their cheek palettes. I just love them. It doesn't have that sort of buckled packaging that is my favourite from NARS, but it's still very nice, very sturdy, perfect for travel. Obviously you could use the bronzer and the highlight on your eye for a super easy, quick, everyday look, so it is great for travel. But I definitely still prefer my Hot Fix palette to this one. That is still like my favourite from NARS. So on this side, I'm going to use, where are they? I hope I haven't lost them. That would be an expensive day. So on this side, we're going to go with one of these Hermes blushes. Now, I know there have been 100,000 reviews of these, and I pretty much agree with everything that everybody has said so far. I watched Tara Lynn's review. I've watched Mel's review. Who else have I seen review these? Lots of people, okay, lots of people. And I feel like they pretty much all have the same thoughts that I do. So I picked up two shades. I have Abricot, Rose Abricot, and I have Rose Tan. I thought this one would be my favourite, but the tan, but I much prefer the Abricot. It is by far my favourite. If I was going to recommend one shade, that would be the shade that I would recommend to you. Where's my blush brush gone? Oh, there she is. Let me clean this off. So my thoughts on these blushes. First of all, yes, they are insanely expensive because they're Hermes. It's a very expensive brand. That's what you're paying for. They do refills without the packaging, just the pan inside. And that is almost, I think it's almost half the price, right? So this is the thing to note when people say, is it worth whatever it costs, £65 for a blush? Is it worth it? Well, no, obviously not, because Hermes themselves are telling you that the blush is actually only worth 35 because that's like what the refill costs, and then the packaging is worth the extra money. That's what Hermes are saying by saying that the refill will cost you 35 and the packaging is going to cost you 70 or something. Then they're saying that this packaging is worth the same amount as the blush. So actually they're saying the blush is worth 35 and you're paying the rest for the Hermes packaging. Unfortunately, this packaging is very light and very, I don't want to say cheap. I always say I hate that word, but it just doesn't feel like what you'd expect. For a £35 packaging, I would expect like the Pat McGrath highlight, the original highlight that she released with her Divine Rose collection that was in that like brick that felt like a paperweight, that was gold and solid and heavy, that you literally could kill someone with it. I haven't tried, I'm just saying, I think you could. That's what you expect, you know, I expect it to feel weighty and look stunning. And I actually really like the appearance. I like the white with the gold. I think it looks lovely, but it doesn't feel expensive. It doesn't feel luxurious. The mirror is just, you know, a pretty flat, basic mirror. It's not like a stunning Pat McGrath beveled mirror. It's not a gorgeous, thick quality. It just doesn't feel or look like Hermes packaging, and it definitely doesn't feel or look like it should be costing £35 more or 30 odd pounds more than just the refill would be. That's my feeling. It has a very strong Parma Violet scent, which is like as soon as I opened the box, it's like hits you in the face. It doesn't really bother me. I actually love a Parma Violet, so I'm not mad at that. But I know lots of people that will just literally mean they don't want it. So the blush itself, I love this Rose Abricot shade in particular. I like the Rose Tan, but like I said, if I had to choose, it's a one-horse race for me. This is an absolute love as far as the actual blush on my cheek. I think it's beautiful. This one is definitely going in my top drawer. I will definitely use it a lot. It's just my perfect kind of blush. I just think it's gorgeous. Very buildable. You can see I started off with a faint wash and you can really build it up and get a pop of blush. I love the finish. This shade in particular has a gorgeous luminosity and like a sheen to the finish, which I just think is beautiful. But do I love it more than my Laura Mercier blushes? Do I think it's worth like 3 times what a Laura Mercier blush would cost you? No, of course not. And if money is any question to you, or it's, you know, something that you consider at all when you're purchasing products, then I just definitely think that a Laura Mercier blush will see you just as good as the Hermes. If money is an object to you, I would definitely recommend the Laura Mercier. If you just want to own some Hermes blushes and you just want to see what the fuss is about, I think they're beautiful. I don't think you'll be disappointed with the performance or how they look on the cheek. Just don't expect them to be like 3 times as good as the Laura Mercier and NARS, a Charlotte Tilbury blush, or like double as good as those brands, because they're Hermes and they charge so much just for the packaging, which then is actually quite disappointing. So that's how I kind of mix feelings. So now for the lips. I was gifted this lipstick from NARS's most recent collection, and this is a soft matte tinted lip balm. I was really fascinated by these because these I love these tinted balm type of lipsticks. They're pretty much all I wear in like the spring and summer. This is the shade Intimate. But this being a matte formula was really surprising to me. I just associate those types of lip products being like balmy, luminous, glossy, glowy formulas. I've never seen, I don't remember seeing a matte version like this, and I just instantly thought, if that is like what it claims to be, if it is a hydrating, balmy, matte lipstick, then it's going to be the perfect like mask wearing spring summer lip, because it's easy. Whack it in your handbag, whack it on, and it's not going to transfer as much as like a glossier finish would, and it's not going to be as messy. It's not going to get all over your mask, not going to get smudged all over your face like I feel the glossier finish would do. But I really just could not see how it was going to work. Like, how was a matte lipstick not going to feel drying? How was it going to be a matte balm? It really does do what it says on the tin. I was surprised. I wore this all day long. I took my children out for a big day out. We were outside all day. Masks were like on, off, on. Like every time I went in to get a coffee, or we went into the play area, or a mask had to go on. We went on a train ride, mask had to go on. So it's like mask on and off, which is, you know, a makeup's worst nightmare. I feel like that mask on, off, on, off. It was a warm day. I reapplied it a few times. My lips did not dry out. I didn't get any transfer on my mask. It does transfer. It doesn't dry down. So it's not a liquid lipstick. So you can see there's a bit of transfer. That's where I just kissed. But it's nothing like if it were a glossier lipstick, and it doesn't smudge or get everywhere, and it really did not dry my lips out at all. So that was definitely like an instant. It's been in my handbag ever since, and I really just love it. Okay, so here is the finished makeup look. Let's go through the products I shared with you today, and I'll let you know my full thoughts on each one. First up, the Natasha Denona Circo Loco palette. I'm just having such a blast with this palette. I absolutely love it. The greens are just insane. Like, this shade is... I literally have no words. And the same thing with this purple shimmer down the bottom. They blow my mind. They are just stunning. Some of the prettiest shimmers I have literally ever seen in my life. I find it so fun. I just love playing with it. It's of course not going to be for everybody. If you don't like colour, you will not even for a second be any interested in this palette. I understand it. I never used to like colour either, and it's still not my go-to, but I'm just having so much fun playing around with it. And actually the shades I thought I wouldn't use that I use today are like one of my favourite looks with this palette. I feel like for summer, this kind of orangey bronzy look is just going to be like one of my favourites. I just love every shade in here. Really, it's only these two golds I haven't really used so far, but yeah, everything else, I love it. The quality is insane. The quality is classic Natasha Denona, can't go wrong. Her best quality that is in the vast majority of her products. Absolutely no issues. Every shade blends like a dream. Every shimmer is blow your mind gorgeous. You get it. I love it. I love it. I have no regrets. Next up, the Patrick Tar Duos. Has it changed my mind? No, because I don't believe I should be the deepest palette or the deepest shade of anything. And obviously I've had to use the deepest shade of these three palettes in order to get it to work for me. And it's certainly not something I have to really be careful with or really use a light hand. It's just the right shade for me. And I don't believe the deepest shade should be the right shade for me, but at the same time I think the quality is really nice. I think it's very easy to use. I like the look that I get with it. So this is the side that is all Patrick's cream and his powder bronzer on this side, remember, and I really like how it turned out. It's very easy to blend, but at the same time I can't say it blows me away. It's nice. So there's the bronzer. But yeah, I don't think it's necessarily one that I'm going to reach for a lot, if you know what I mean. So that's the contour and that's the bronzer there. Yeah, I enjoy it. I don't have any issues with it outside of the ones that I initially had with the wrong shade for me. But yeah, it's not like an absolute need, obsessed, love it situation either. The Fenty Eazedrop. Now I will zoom in a little to show you. It's probably about maybe 40 minutes since I applied this foundation. It looks insanely smooth. I feel like it looks very, very smooth and airbrushed. It has started already to like settle into like these horizontal lines and my smile lines, and it kind of tends to look a little like drying and just a bit too like matte on my forehead. Obviously there's a lot of light, so light bouncing off my forehead is going to make things look more luminous. It is a matte finish on me. It's a pretty matte finish, which again, if I'm going to use a skin tint, if I'm going to use a tinted moisturiser, I would like and prefer a more luminous or at least a natural satin type of finish. So that's quite unexpected about this. It's got lots of pros and cons to it, this foundation. It's super lightweight. I've definitely got a much better shade in this as far as undertones than I have previously managed to get from Fenty. Usually they're much too warm on me. The warm tones are too warm. The neutrals are kind of pink on me, and there are very few olive shades and they tend to not sit where I need them to. So one olive shade is too deep, one is too light, and it kind of, yeah, I've had an issue getting a perfect match or a decent match undertone wise from Fenty. This is much better. It's a much better undertone for me. It takes a bit of work to apply, which again, I feel like skin tints shouldn't be that much work. For me, it's just okay. That's kind of the summary. It's got some good, some not so good. It's just okay. I feel like there are way better skin tints, tinted moisturisers out there, and I not so long ago did a video of my favourites if you want to check that out to see what I prefer over this one. It's fine, it's decent, it's okay. That's about it for me. This little cheek palette from NARS, I just think their cheek palettes are just wonderful. I just love them. I love that you get to try, you know, a good few of their products in one. It's pretty cost effective to do it that way. Let me build those blushes up a little. That was a little lackluster of a swatch. You will see, so this is the lighter palette. Unfortunately, I didn't get the deeper palette to compare, so I'm not sure how deep that one goes, but obviously this was fine for me. I was able to use this. The bronzer bronzed me with a bit of building up. The blush is a nice subtle soft blush. The highlight, as you can see now, it's finished. It can absolutely be nice and luminous and glowy and not proper seen from space, but it can really be built up as well. It's a lovely little palette. It's not my favourite NARS palette. Like you guys know, I'm obsessed with Hot Fix. I think that's my favourite. And I also had Overlust, can't speak today, gifted to me. I think it was for my birthday, could have been Christmas. They're so close together, I can never remember. But I love that one as well. So yeah, I don't know that I prefer this one as much. And I do prefer that bent, smashed packaging, the buckled packaging that they do, to this flatter packaging. So yeah, if I was going to recommend, I would probably recommend the Overlust or the Hot Fix over this one, but the Hot Fix you can't get anymore. So if you have been dying after that Hot Fix palette that I always tell you how much I love, then maybe this is a good option instead. And the lipstick from the same collection from NARS I love, or lip balm I should say. It feels so nice and comfortable and hydrating on the lips, but somehow is a matte. This is a very Your Lips But Better natural colour for me. This is the shade Intimate. I will have the details down below for you, but yeah, I really like these. I would definitely like to pick up some more shades of this, maybe some deeper shades. This is quite subtle. Maybe it would be better with a liner, but they have lots of shades in that. I really, really like that, and I think it's perfect for spring or summer, especially when wearing a mask, because it's that more matte formula without drying down and drying out your lips. The Laura Mercier double-ended concealer, I think it looks nice. As you can see, it's still not creasing or settling in lines on me, but I mean, even here I feel you can still see that discoloration just peeking through. So I wish it did have a hair more coverage to it, but it may be, now I come to think of it, maybe it's just because this is too light for me. Maybe if I had my right shade, actually it would be better on my discoloration. Maybe I need to pick up a new shade of this as well. Maybe that's the problem, but it feels very lightweight. I like the application process. I love the little crayon. I find it very easy to use, very easy to blend in, and yeah, I think it's very flattering. And if you like that luminous, like the NARS Radiant Creamy type of finish, then I think you will really like the finish of this one. It is that pearl brightening under eye effect that lots of people love. I just wish it had a little more coverage. Maybe I need to try a deeper shade of that one as well. I'll keep you posted. And last, I think, but not least, these Hermes blushes. I think I've told you everything I have to say about them. I think this Rose Abricot is gorgeous. I think it's a beautiful colour. Let me swatch the two I have for you. So here is Rose Apricot and Rose Tan. I feel like Apricot has definitely got more luminosity to it. Rose Tan is definitely a bit deeper and richer. Both stunning, beautiful shades, but definitely Abricot is my favourite. I think I've pretty much said everything I have to say about these when I was applying them. I think they're beautiful. I love them. I will certainly keep using and enjoying them. Do I think they should be £63? I mean, probably not. Like I said, so I checked the prices. The refills are £39, and with the compact like this, they're 63. So do I think these compacts are worth like £24? Definitely not. I mean, even the product inside to be valued at £39 for a refill, that's really expensive. And obviously a lot of the expense comes down to the fact that it's Hermes, it's a luxury brand, everything they make is very expensive. I think the blushes are beautiful, particularly the Abricot shade, as I said, is my favourite. I will certainly wear it, love it and enjoy it, and I'm not disappointed at all in the blushes. But yeah, I just think, you know, they aren't any better than Laura Mercier blushes. I don't love them any more than my Laura Mercier blushes, my Charlotte Tilbury blushes. Those blushes that are around like half the price of these ones are just as good. So if, you know, price is no object and you just want some beautiful blushes, I definitely think these are beautiful blushes. But if you know, want to get the best value for money, then you're not going to be missing out. If you have Laura Mercier blushes, NARS blushes, you're not missing anything formula wise that's life-changing between those blushes and these, is what I'm saying. So there you have it. Those are all the products I've been trying and using while I have been kind of absent but not absent from YouTube. That is everything that I've needed to catch you up on over the last few weeks that I haven't had a chance to show you or share with you while I have been missing, playing with my kids and then sans camera, which is pretty important when it comes to making videos, you know. So I hope you enjoyed this video and I'd love to see you in the next one. Otherwise, take care for now. Bye 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 bye.